Here we go. I've got 1 o'clock on the nose. Denny Grimes coming to you from Southwest Florida. Another episode of Mastery Real Estate. We're going to be dealing with our favorite topic, which is how to master question-based, listing-enhanced conversations. Everyone's excited about the fact that we're going to kind of morph away. And yes, we're not using the term script anymore because that suggests in our minds, it's like the script of a play. You've got to memorize your words rather than just have a conversation. So I want to welcome you guys here on the Facebook community as well. We've got my director of growth, Sunday Hammermeister, is running the show, and my co-host. Many of you guys know him, John McLeod. He's from Naples. So, John, what's on your mind today?
Well, it's interesting, Denny. We talked a little bit this morning about buyer aversion with stepping out of the market for a variety of reasons. One of them is just getting frustrated, losing too many opportunities with multiple offers. Another one that people are starting to have come across their plate is, I'm going to wait for the market to start to fall. So those are the two ones that I'm hearing, at least on the buyer side, pretty regularly now. So what are you guys hearing out there? And remember, this is open mic. This is your chance at stardom. You get an open mic without a guitar, so please feel free to unmute yourself, or I'm going to start calling on people.
I'll tell you, I've been fortunate this year, this is Jim talking, to have been a hero for some of the buyers. Mostly, I've been a seller's agent for most of the career, but lately it's been, the challenge has been finding the opportunities for our buyers. And earlier on in the year, it seemed to be easier, but I had one that was really challenging lately. A family that wanted to spend up to $500 on a second home, but they had been pre-approved for a mortgage. And that's almost a kiss of death down here in the Naples market. And we struck out once, twice, 3, 4 times, 5th time. And I finally was getting frustrated, but I'll tell you the strategy that I've used that kind of worked. With the only thing you can do is to have your conversations and really chat up the listing agent going into the thing, even if it's the day of the listing, and just hammer on the listing agent on how qualified and how wonderful the family is you're representing. And I think that is what was the icing on the cake. I just got a deal done down in Lely Golf Estates there for this family, and we got it under contract, and it was, I think the guy took pity on me or whatever, but it was through the conversation and developing the rapport with the listing agent to make him feel comfortable to know that if he was going to work with me, it was going to be a hands-off, no worries transaction, and I'd see to it that everything would be handled in a professional manner. And it worked, and we've got it under contract, but it was tough to get that done. I mean, we sent many offers over ask, day of list, and no, cash, close right away, just trumps anything with financing. So it's tough.
So you mind if I drill on that a little bit, James?
Go for it.
How many people have ever heard the concept, well, yeah, I sold the house, the seller said, well, I sold my last house at an open house. Are you going to have open house? So who would like to answer that question? You are sitting with me at my table, and I say, hey, look, I sold my last house at an open house. Or let me just start by saying this. Who would like to role play with me? You're the agent, the listing agent, or the potential one coming to my home, and we're going to have a conversation at the table. Who would like to have that role? It won't be a long one. It's going to be short. I just want to talk with someone.
I'll go with you, Denny.
Brian, why does that not surprise me? All right, so Brian, do you hold open houses?
Yeah, we hold more than one open house. How do you feel about open houses?
I don't like them.
You don't like them?
No.
What makes you say that?
I had an open house one time back in 1907 when I was selling my house, and somebody broke in and stole my, what do you call those things? Beanie Babies. They stole my Beanie Baby collection. So
Beanie Baby collection.
Houses. Yep.
Well, my question really is, would you want your valuable possessions out while people walk in the house?
I don't want open houses.
Well, if there was a bigger impact of buyers seeing your house because of open houses, would you consider buyers coming in?
All right, so let's have the conversation now. All right, so I'm gonna step out of role. So Brian is my protege. He's a brilliant young man. He's on all my role plays ever since I started doing bold, and he's fearless. Watch out for him. He'll own Baton Rouge. When someone asks you, a potential seller asks you if you'll hold open houses, what do you think the right response is? He had the right response, but he didn't say it first. Anyone?
To find out, to drill into the seller and find out what their motivations are and what their feelings are towards them, whether they, like in your case, you hated them, other people want them daily until the house is sold, but you need to establish that right away before you put your foot in your mouth.
There you go. Well, how do you feel about open houses, James?
Well, you know, I don't like them because, you know, in 1914, I lost my second Beanie Baby collection at an open house, so I don't like them.
So we're not, then I'll tell you what, let's not hold any, okay? So my question to you is this. Yes, that is it. That's not even my main point. That's just the point. Here's my main point. So those that maybe popped on late, James was just going through a story. He finally got these people into a property. You've had some challenges. All of you working with buyers have had challenges. Now, James said the secret sauce was developing a relationship with the listing agent. Now, I'm not saying that's not a bad thing. However, when someone tells you that an open house sold their last house, a seller tells you that, or an agent says, yeah, I sell a lot of my listings because of the open house. I want you to know that the open house did not sell the house.
Thank you.
Now, James, no, y'all, any pushback on that yet? The open house does not sell the house. That's like, because I believe in the physics of real estate, getting the house in the right price point and the right listing, it will sell. That's like you taking water and put it into a freezer that happens to be an avocado green. I've had those before. Who remembers the Harvest Gold, avocado green, all that? We've had that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said the avocado green freezer froze the water. The color of the freezer had nothing to do with it. The open house was only the fact that the portal where the people saw the home. What sold the home?
Price and condition.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Almost.
Price for sure.
Price.
Yeah.
So we're going to be purists. Yeah, we can get into the weeds a little bit on condition. I want you to be purist, because if you understand this to a rock solid basic level, you will be rock solid in a listing presentation. Now, what James said is a great little point, and we can talk about it if you want. He says the secret sauce was having a relationship with the agent. So raise your hand if you've been in a multiple offer situation and your buyer lost the home. Let me see, just raise your hand if that's happened to you. And in your case, James, you were working hard, you had 3 or 4 or 5 not go through. So I'm just going to ask you this. And if somebody else wants to comment, that'd be great. James, on the ones that the buyer lost, did your buyer go in with guns a-blazing, 100% their best offer?
Yes, and multiple times at 10 to 20,000 over asking on the day the listing came out even.
Okay, well, let me ask you then. You said they were pre-approved. Did they have a financing contingency in there?
Yes.
Could you not have eliminated that?
I don't know. I didn't ask the question, to be honest with you. That would be very risky. For sure.
Okay, so okay, well, if it's risky for who?
Well, for the buyer, if they're putting 10% down and they're going to get a 90% mortgage and they're pre-approved, but then you don't make it subject to that with a finance contingency, then if they go beyond, their deposits at risk.
Okay, so let me just role play this with. So I'm going to role play with Moses. Welcome. I'm going to you, Moses.
Okay, sure. What'd you need?
You're the buyer, right?
Okay.
You're pre-approved. It's a $400,000 house. You're pre-approved up to 450, let's say. All right.
Did I remove my decision contingency?
So I'm asking you. So we've lost out on some houses. I'm going to ask you, Moses, do you have any concern about getting a loan?
No.
You
I'm
have no
pre-approved.
concern about getting a loan, correct?
Correct. I'm pre-approved.
Okay. So basically, we could write this up as cash or equal, meaning if we write it up as cash or equal, or, you can use financing, it's just not contingent on financing. Are you okay doing that?
I'm not. I'm a little nervous. This is a big purchase, and I don't want to check anything that might put me in a bad position or lose my deposit.
I understand that. However, if the seller's looking at offers that don't make them nervous and one that does make them nervous, and they keep going with the one that doesn't make them nervous, what are you going to do?
Well, I want this house. If you're confident you can do it, then go ahead and write up the offer.
I don't have any control over this. You ever watch that what do you call that, Texas Hold'em on TV? I don't know what the other players are holding. My question to you is, are you willing to go in as strong as possible?
Yes.
And that would mean if you're 99% sure that you can get the loan, is it worth a 1% risk that you remove the financing contingency?
Yes. I really want this house.
So I'm going to stop just for a second. Now, would you, and there's no judgment, we're learning here. Who would be willing to have that conversation with the buyer? Yes, because sometimes we as agents want to protect the buyer and we don't allow them to, and what happens is they don't get the house. Let me go to the end of the book. James, I'm just going to make this statement. Would you not agree that your buyers lost out because they weren't the most competitive?
Absolutely. They lost. Okay. They lost it because of cash offers, and now the contingencies are being waived, and or the contingency periods are being shortened to 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and then they're ready for closing. So that would be tough for someone who doesn't have the cash in hand that could do that and finance later. I also ask them that if they have the ability to borrow against the IRA or something like that to cash out a house right now and then leverage it after the fact to put them in a competitive place.
I don't even think you'd have to do that. However, just pure simple. What James is saying helps. However, when people say I sold my house from an open house, I want you to know that's not what sold the house. Price sold the home. Open houses don't sell houses. Are we okay there? Secondly, this is why I wanted to go with this point. I wasn't planning on it. However, I'm glad you brought it up, James. James's relationship with the agent did not help his buyer, was not the reason his buyer got that house. His buyer had the best offer, or if it was close, within a nano inch, his relationship pushed him over the edge. I'm not saying it didn't help. It does not help if you're not competitive. If you've got two competing offers relatively close, absolutely. The relationship with the agent matters, all that communication. I'm not disking it. I want you to understand though, if he was not competitive at all, would the relationship have mattered?
Not at all. I 100% agree with you there, Denny. For sure.
Somebody else would have got the house and he would have been sad and probably took you out to lunch.
Hopefully.
So any thoughts on that, you guys? Because, John, we can do, if you call on someone and let's do a buyer role play. And before you do that, while you're thinking about that, I want to remind you guys, I'm over 300 now. I'm going to 350 on my YouTube channel, Denny Grimes Master Real Estate. So go there. I've got a year's worth of good stuff, free stuff that you can listen to. I always post my TV spots there. And one of the last TV spot I think I did on Thursday or Friday, was on forbearance and what's going to be happening, in my opinion, because the July 31st, the extension ends with forbearance. And there's some other things the government's attempting to do. So there's buyers out there saying, oh, we got all these foreclosures coming, it's going to change, blah, blah, blah. So go there and watch that 3-minute spot. Here's the thing I want to show you guys, my thought of the day. It leads up into this conversation we're having. I might have mentioned this a week or two ago. This is a study done by the Florida, I think it's, Fannie Mae that does a study. This line here is asking buyers, do you think it's a good time to buy? And over here, asking the red line, buyers, do you think it's a bad time to buy? Generally speaking, buyers are kind of bullish on the market. 2/3 of the buyers generally say, yeah, it's a good time to buy. And for at least since the 2010, because why? We had low interest rates, right? And the market's been going up. Remember, buyers, they complain about the market going up, but they love the market going up because the opposite of that is what? How many buyers love stepping in and buying when the market's going down? No. What they do is they grab a Snickers and watch it. What's interesting is here, if you can see it way over here on this side, I'll get out of the way. For the very first time in 2021, the line's inverted, where 64% of the buyers say now is a bad time to buy. That is the market we're in. And that's what John was saying early on. So let's have a couple of role plays around what kind of conversations are you having with buyers that basically, hey, I don't think it's a good time to buy. So John, anybody raise their hand and want to do something yet?
All right, so we got Adam Bailey. Is your mic working now, Adam? I don't think Adam's mic's working, so let's give him a second to troubleshoot that. Josh Saxton out of Denver. You are going to be the agent, all right? And the newbie on my screen, Julie Baker. You're going to be the buyer wanting to wait because the market's about to drop.
Let me just give Josh a little prop because I think in our bold class, he's part of KCN, I believe. Your whole team did a bold 100. It might have been a reverse bold 100. So he's a mover and shaker. So Josh, you're going to be the agent, right?
Yep.
And Julie, you're the buyer?
Yes.
So let me ask you, Josh, on a scale of 1 to 10, we're going to have about a 5-minute role play here on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 means Julie's going to be a marshmallow, and a 10 means Julie's going to be Freddy Krueger. What level of pushback do you want?
Let's put it right in the middle. Let's do it at a 5.
Oh, that's why the Broncos don't have a good team. Okay.
Oh.
So we'll do a 5. All right. All right, Julie, you're a 5.
Okay.
So this is not on the phone. Let's say you're having a conversation. Well, you can set it up, Julie, any way you want.
Okay. Yeah, let's just meet in person. It's like our second meeting, and I'm just kind of sitting on the fence here, deciding whether or not to go forward. So you're going to just have to convince me.
Okay. And we just real quick before we jump into it, we don't have like a buyer agreements, anything like that. We're kind of meeting for the second time and just going through the process initially, correct? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's it. You're just trying to get me into the market. So I'm just been kind of sitting on the fence, hemming and hawing, putting you off.
Okay. Typical. Okay. So got it. So hi, Julie.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Melting.
Melting. Yeah, it's been a little toasty, right?
Yeah, it's been like over 100 with the heat index. It's just miserable.
Yep, absolutely. Much like the market that we had earlier this year, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, I just keep seeing all of these things where these houses are going so fast, and they're going over asking, and I just don't know this is the time to get into the market. It just looks like I'd be not competitive, and I'm just worried about that, and overpaying for a house right now. I just don't know that it's the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that. Quick question, because the last time that we met, we went through a few pieces of where you were at and where you're going. How long have you been actually looking to purchase a house here in Denver? So
About 6 months. I've been watching the market. I've probably been looking at houses over a year, but I've just really been active about the last 6 months, deciding that, I'd like to get into the market. But, I'm seeing the values of these houses, and I'm just worried about, getting out there and then getting beat out on these offers, because it just seems like they're going so quickly.
yeah, absolutely. And I definitely understand where you're coming from, especially if you've been looking for the amount of time that you have been looking. You have seen it go crazy, go white hot, all the things that you're reading and listening to, in the news, right?
Right. But then on the other hand, I mean, these interest rates are really nice. So, I'd like to take advantage of that, but.
It is. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, speaking of that market and where we're at today, something that you do need to know about is that, everything has been really white hot. It's been great. What we had is a huge influx of demand against our supply. So supply here in Denver was well over 30, almost 40%, even in 50% at sometimes year over year, which means, for example,
That's 2 minutes. You got 2 more minutes.
Okay. So in the springtime, just as a quick example, that means that for 2 houses we had last year on the market, we had 1 house this year. We still had 5 buyers last year. We still have 5 buyers this year, but there's 1 less house. So just real quick, to explain it, that's what was happening with the market. I understand, that that's what you saw and have seen in the market, but you need to know that actually things have been shifting recently and more in favor of the buyer side. You mentioned the interest rates. Interest rates have been going down as well, but we're actually seeing more listings come on the market more recently, and not as much of that bidding war that we're seeing before. And to be honest with you, it's probably one of the better times to look into purchasing a house, because you are going against competition, but not like you were before.
That really doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence. I mean, you're saying it's a little better, but not great to get into the market. So I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah. And I should rephrase. So it's actually been getting a lot better. I shouldn't say a little bit better. So it's been getting a lot better in regards to the competition here in Denver. We do see that interest rates are holding really steady, everything else going on there. But I need to ask, what exactly is it that would be holding you back from purchasing today? Is it, the financing part of it? Is it a matter of, trying to sell your current house, renting? What's the situation? Just give me that real quick.
I just don't want to pay over asking for a home. I want to pay the appraised value. I just don't want to go in a negative equity position.
Yeah. Well, and the equity here in Denver has been great. So
All right, that's 4 minutes. Time. 4 minutes go fast, right?
Does go very fast.
So you guys on this call, I mean, this I like this. This is how we do our role play. We have a procedure. So John, follow the procedure, ask him how he did, and then we'll ask for some input from the gang.
Excellent. So Josh, how do you feel you did with this call?
Could have done better. So I think more of it was time.
That's the second question. You're on page 2. We're still on page 1. What did you do well?
Exactly.
So yeah, so what I did well was, I think, diving in a bit into what a real holdup was in the market, continuing to go through that process with her to see exactly, kind of dive in as much as I could into exactly what was holding her back from buying today.
Okay. And what could you have done better?
Yeah, I would say something to do better would be a lot more confident. She actually at one point said, that's not giving me a whole lot of confidence, saying a little bit or a lot. So I think being a lot more confident into the explanation and trying to get her over the objection.
Okay. So Julie, how did you feel as a buyer?
I felt like he was getting to the point, but it just took a little bit longer to address the concerns. I mean, I think he would have eventually gotten there, but my major concern was that I didn't want to pay too much, and we could have just talked about some of the things that were going on in the market about going and getting equity into a home and that type of stuff. Just gone a different tact. but he didn't have time to get to my real underlying objection, I think.
Okay. And the model when we're in conversations with people is first to acknowledge the objection, right? Second, isolate. And the way I always remember that is, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? So Julie, other than not wanting to pay too much from a house, is there anything else keeping you from moving forward? Now you've got it down to one particular thing. Then you can overcome the specific objection and close. But until you isolate, you don't know if you're really just getting, if you're getting the real truth out of her, or if you're getting just kind of the brush off, because this is your second or third conversation with her. You've probably had a couple brush offs in the past, so you're not getting to the crux of it. Does that make sense?
So let's, anyone have any comment on that? And so we're in a safe spot. We're growing here now. So anything that we say, is that, I mean, everyone okay? Josh, you're okay, right? This is, if we use a little sandpaper, T on my team, she's used to it. She's sanded all the time. So the model that John was talking about is acknowledge, isolate. You did a lot of acknowledgement. Now, let me just make a couple of different points. Don't spend a lot of time on the acknowledgement. Don't like spend you almost took 30 or 40 seconds to talk about acknowledging it. You know what? Just acknowledge it. Because I believe in a conversation, the attention span is not finite. It is not finite. It's finite. It's not infinite. Thank you. I thought that was right. So therefore, we have to make the most of our words as soon as we can. So other than that, you know, Julie, you played this so well. How many people on the call listening felt like the real objection was ever uncovered? Did anybody feel like it was really uncovered? So Moses, you thought it was. What was her objection?
Price point.
And is it Lydia? Is that Lydia Powell? Is that, I can't see the name.
I believe in India.
India. What was her real objection?
I think it was like she was saying, like the equity overpaying for the home.
Yes, she said it two different ways. Who remembers? This is a listening enhanced part. She said it two different ways. What was the two ways she said it?
I don't want to pay over ask.
That's one. She didn't say that till later.
And she said that it wasn't good. It wasn't great, but it's good. She wasn't feeling 100% confident in what he was saying. She wanted to feel that the market was great in her favor, but he was saying it was just good.
Yeah, she didn't feel it was a good time to step in, and then she finally said, I don't want to pay over asking price. A couple other points. Pet peeve for me. You might think it's minor. I used to say, to be honest, because it's just a cliche. What I've attempted to do is I don't say that anymore, because that means when I say to be honest, I'm honest. And when I don't say to be honest, I'm not. Just a small thing. Josh, did you feel you started to tell a little bit instead of ask?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you do that, this is what's going on. I have a slide. I'll find it for you really quick. When we don't know where to go, what we start doing is coming up with a laundry list of stuff. In other words, we're going to throw sticky notes on the wall, hoping something sticks. Now, generally speaking, when we do that, we start sounding a little salesy. And one more thing that I noticed, you ask a great question. Bryant, this is for you. When you ask a question, what don't you do?
You don't answer your own question.
Because you were saying, well, you started to ask her a question, then you started giving her multiple choices. So let me just go back to the slide on the model. Any other input on that before we go into something else? I'll just follow the model on it and see what your thoughts are. Any other comments from anybody on that? All right, Julie, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming back to you. Julie, all right, so I understand you're a little concerned about stepping in the market right now, and what is your main concern?
Well, I just, I'm concerned about going in and overpaying for a property. I don't want to have to bid and overpay for a property and end up in a negative equity position.
Now, I write down the words because there's a lot of opportunity. Do y'all, what were the 3 words that she used? Overpay, bid, negative equity. They all kind of tie together, but we don't really know what that means yet. So I understand there's the acknowledgement. That's all you need. Other than your feeling of being afraid to overpay, is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to step into this awesome market right now?
Not really. I just have that big concern that I'll end up losing out on offers and have to spend way too much money for a house right now.
Now she's kind of all over the place. She doesn't want the pain of losing out on offers. And so she's attempting to articulate how she feels. Do you have a bullseye on where she is on this yet? I'm not really sure I do. So if you're not sure what leg to cut off or what appendage to cut off, maybe we should do some more investigating. So let me ask you, and this would be the next step. There's a next step to go to. Now, you might already know it because you've spent a couple of times with them. If you're going to have a conversation with them moving, there's one more thing you need before we start performing our operation. What is it? You know what it is. It's the gas that makes them move. Starts with an M.
Your motivation.
This is the
Yes.
moment.
The motivation. Until we understand that, we're operating without tools, you guys. So let me ask you, Julie. So, obviously, let's assume I don't know. So, you're stepping into this market. Let me ask you, why? Why do you want a new home?
Well, I actually just need to downsize, and I'd really like to be closer to work. The commute is just getting ridiculous, and I am just tired of it.
I get that. Acknowledge, we're doing the same thing. This is the only dance I really know. I just stand in a circle and kind of go around and let my wife do the leading, right? You're going to follow the same script. I get that. So other than those 2 things, what else is important to you about it?
I'm sorry?
What else is important to you about a new house?
That's really it. I just want to find something and have a little less space, a little less upkeep.
Now, you have to give us some information. There's one more piece of information we need, and that is, where are you currently living? What is your current situation, Julie?
Yeah, I'm currently living 45 minutes from work, and I'm in a 5-bedroom home, and I just don't need that much space. I'm looking really more for a 3-bedroom garden home.
Now, do you own that or rent that?
I own it.
You see now where this is going. This is going to be a bigger hole than we thought we have to dig. So who wants to tag team me with that? And I'll let somebody else land the plane if they want to. They got more information, following the model. Who's going to volunteer for this? Or if not, John will call on an agent.
All right, Jill, you're up.
Jill, you're up. You're the agent. I trust you heard all the conversation.
I heard the conversation.
It's getting more complex. So
Okay.
you pick it, tag team, you're it. All right, you're now the agent. Go. I'll time you. You got 4 minutes.
Okay. What's your name again? I'm sorry. I didn't
Julie.
Julie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay, Julie. So if I'm understanding correctly, you're looking to downsize and get a little bit closer to work. But your big concern is overpaying on something new. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you currently aware of the value of the home that you own now?
Yes.
Okay, and where did you kind of come up with the figures that you're working with?
Well, I looked on Zillow.
Okay, great. And that's a great place to start. I can appreciate you've done some research. Would you be interested in maybe something a little more specific to your home, your area, and all the upgrades that you've put into your home?
That would be fantastic.
Okay. So then, would you have time either later well, actually, we're meeting now.
So all right, so we'll fast forward it. You're closing for the listing appointment. Awesome. Now you're there.
Okay, so now we're here. Okay. Okay, Julie. So what I brought here with me is the current sales in your area. You can take a look here and let's take a minute and see how your home compares to these other ones. So looking at this home, can you see where, how does your home compare to it in your mind?
Well,
I'm going to pause. This won't be on your time. I'm just going to pause. Is that, all right, so you're going through kind of a listing presentation now. What I want you to see if you can do is go back to the original. She wants to be a buyer.
Okay.
You've got the listing.
Okay.
So what do you need to know to move forward to make her a buyer?
Okay. All right. Okay, Julie. So we've got a great plan in place to get your home sold for the top dollar that we can here in this market. Now, when is it that you would like to be in your new home?
well, it would depend on when my home sells, but as soon as possible.
Okay, as soon as possible. And have you spoken with the lender? Are we going to need to definitely sell this home before we can purchase something new? Or can we go ahead and start looking and putting in offers?
That's the key question, guys. That's the key question. It's got to come out early. You've got to determine if she's a buyer or a seller. Great question, Jill. All right, keep going.
No, we can start looking now.
Okay. Now, I know we've spoken about how competitive the market is, and I can appreciate that that's a major concern of yours. So let's talk about some strategies that we can put in place to be very competitive in this market. I know one of your concerns is, overpaying for a home. So we can take a look, obviously, and do our own comparison when we're putting in an offer. In the market, because home prices have been increasing so quickly, a concern is the appraisal. Is there an amount that you would be comfortable with potentially offsetting if there's an appraisal gap?
No.
Okay. All right. So we can move on to a few other options then.
40 seconds.
Okay. Something else that we can do is going ahead and expediting our inspections. Is moving quickly to get inspections done something you're comfortable with?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Another thing we can do to show that we are serious about the home is ordering the appraisal first. Is that something you would be comfortable with?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So starting off with those strategies, how about we put together a list of homes and schedule a time to go see them later this week?
Sounds good.
Okay. That sounds great. I will take a look at what's currently available and what's coming soon, get you over a list, and let's start with, say, 4 homes. Let me know which ones are most interesting to you and we'll schedule.
Time. John, take over. Ask her how she did.
All right. So sorry, I had to unmute myself. I was pulling what everyone else did. All right. So Jill, how do you think you did?
Okay.
Let's start with what you did well.
I think based on our, everything we've talked about before, I knew her concerns, and I think I did an okay job trying to show her ways that she can be competitive within her comfort zone.
Okay. What do you think you could have done better?
Explaining more. I felt rushed.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt rushed trying to I feel like that conversation that I had, I would have sat down with them and dug more into where their concerns were and explained more about the market, because I do think, or not about the market so much, but about options and what they mean. In the buyers I've worked with that are very concerned with overpaying, once they have a little more understanding of what's going on and that it's not necessarily overpaying, but just why things are moving so quickly, they seem to be a little more comfortable, and then we can, you know, come up with multiple strategies to be competitive in our offers.
Okay. So I'm gonna, before we go to Julie's feelings on this, one of the things that I coach the agents that I work with when digging deep into objections is 5 fingers, 5 pennies, 5 paper clips, whatever. The key is the number 5. So Julie has given us an objection, which is she doesn't want to overpay. You need to ask 5 questions deep around her reasoning for not wanting to overpay before you're really going to be able to find out what the true objection is. And I think when we get to the end of this, you find that you explaining is not going to be the directions you need to take it. We're probably asking just a couple more really pointed questions for her to self-discover why now is the reason. We'll get to that here in a second. So Julie, how did you feel with Jill's and her conversation?
I felt like she was listening to my concerns and trying to address them. I do feel like there was another question that needed to be asked to kind of further understand.
What question is that?
I think that just going one question more of what is it about the price point that has that you're so concerned about?
So let's play that for a second, Julie. Okay, I'll step in as the agent if that's okay, and say, you know, Julie, I know you don't want to overpay. What does that look like? How does that make you feel?
Well, you know, I hear all these horror stories of people getting into houses, and then, you know, it's just way too much money and all of these things, and I don't understand that, and that concerns me, and it's scary. So I don't know.
Okay, so you have concerns about buying a house, and are you concerned about the equity going down, or are you concerned about repairs? You've been kind of mentioned both of them. Which one is more of a concern for you?
Well, the equity going down.
Okay, so and you have to sell your existing home, right?
Right.
Which is worth more than the one you're going to be purchasing, correct?
Correct.
So you want to know what the good news about this is, Julie?
Sure.
You are in the best position as somebody in the real estate market that you can be in. You can sell your most expensive asset at the high point and reduce your risk by downsizing. Do you understand what I mean by saying that?
Yes.
Okay, explain it back to me. This is for you as an agent and you as a buyer. Explain it back to me what that means.
Well, I can take advantage of the market at the high point and sell it for the most money possible.
Mm-hmm.
And also utilize the points of all the good things in the market with the lower interest rate, and take advantage of buying a property that I find that would work for me at this time, and be able to afford that property and move into it and start building equity in that position right now.
So now, guys, this is where you want to understand who you're speaking with, personality profile, whether they're on the disc profile, where they are. A high C, you're going to go out and say, Julie, your house is worth 600,000. You're going to spend 400,000. Let's say in a year, the market drops equally and you lose 10% on both homes. Does it hurt more to lose 10% on 600,000, or does it hurt more to lose 10% on 400,000?
Right.
It obviously hurts more to lose the 10% on the 600. So a high C, you can bring them to a pain point that way. A D is real simple. Says, listen, just buy it now because you're taking your money out at the best possible time and you're mitigating your risk, and now you've got money left over. Does that make sense? And you don't want to go into the whole explanation of it Denny knows me well enough to know that I can get caught up in the weeds, and I myself will go down the road. He's already given me the face. I myself can go down the road of explaining and pulling out a piece of paper and writing everything down. And you know what I've learned from, I've been working with Denny now daily for the past 8 months. You know what I learned is you can just ask a simple question. They're going to come to that realization on their own.
Good summary, John. Now I'm going to land the plane here. We'll go on to one more before we leave. This is rather new. I talked about this, I think, last week. When people have fear, this is the formula. It's a pain pleasure formula. In bold, we teach the 4 quadrants, right? So Julie's fear, acknowledge it. What's her alternative? And then what's her greater pain? So it can be very simple. So you define the terms like John said, I don't want to overpay. So let me ask you, Julie, have you ever heard the term sell high, buy low?
Of course.
Kind of everybody likes to do that, right?
Of course.
Well, the only way that works is if you sell high. So you can't buy until you sell. So let me ask you, have you already decided you're going to be able to sell your house? You want to take advantage of the white hot market now, yes or no?
Of course I do.
Okay. Then when you sell, are you going to want to buy right away, or would you step into some temporary accommodations waiting for the right opportunity?
Well, I really don't want to move twice.
Okay. So you do want to take advantage of the market and you step into your next house, right?
Correct.
So if you don't want, now watch this, guys, if you don't want to step in a competitive environment or a multiple offer situation, we can do that. You know how?
No, tell me.
We have to go and look at the houses in the dent can bin.
The what?
We've got to look at the houses in the dent can bin. You know, when they go to the grocery store, they have a.
Oh, yes. Okay. Mhm.
So we're going to have to look at the houses nobody else wants.
Okay, that's fine by me.
I wasn't expecting that answer. However, now, how many people could ask that question? Brian, you could ask that question. Is there anyone that would think that would be a little bit too direct or whatever? Isn't it the truth? So what you're saying, Julie, is you don't want a house that other people want.
Well, I'm not afraid to put a little work into it.
Well, that's not the question. If it's a good buy, if it's a great buy, will other people want it?
Maybe not. I don't know. We'll just have to look at it.
Now you're being Freddy Krueger. That's not a rational answer.
Okay, I'll stop.
So the bottom line is, going here, what's your alternative? And let me ask you said about negative equity. If you would have bought a house 6 months ago when you first started looking, would you be a negative equity situation or a positive one?
Oh, well, positive, most definitely.
So let me ask you, if you could roll back and have Groundhog Day and buy the house 6 months ago and they'll be closer to work and your commute's better, how would you feel right now?
Yeah, that probably would be a good position to be in.
Now, I don't have any idea what the future is going to be, but let me ask you, what's your greater pain? You don't step in and you watch the market go up another 10% over 6 months. Or you do step in and you watch your value decrease 10% in 6 months.
Right.
You're not planning on selling this house, are you?
Well, no, and I do not want to throw away my money on rent.
That is how you get it there really fast. What's your alternative? Not stay put, drive and commute. Live in a house that's too big. Watch the other one go up. When, you guys, was the last time someone bought a house? And you got to use this card. When was the last time somebody bought a house and had to sell it in a year or two later and lost money? Somebody want to take a guess?
The 80s?
Well, no, it'd be before, more recent than that. It'd be at least a decade.
Yeah.
I'd say 12 years. Now, that doesn't mean it won't happen tomorrow. However, one more thing, Jill, a little bit of a danger, Will Robinson, when you suggest they get an appraisal. The appraisal has nothing to do with the value. And the best story I've heard is this. Let's go to, I'm going to go to Lillian. Is it Lillian? Is it Lillian?
Yes, Lillian, it's fine. Thank you.
Lillian, what's your favorite music group?
Beatles.
I don't know if they're still playing. All right, so let's just say they were still selling tickets, right? And you had an opportunity to go and watch the Beatles, and you paid $100 for it. Because she said she didn't want to pay over asking price. All right, so now a sold out concert. Imagine you paid $100 for it. Have you ever heard of a situation, Lillian, where when at the day of the concert you can get more than face value for the ticket?
Yes, I did.
So did you think that people overpaid, or was that the market value at the time?
I'm sure it's the market value at the time.
Now, isn't that analogy one that everyone can relate to? That's the difference between asking price and selling price. So the bottom line is, if you want to go to the concert, you're going to have to pay market value on it. You're not overpaying. That's the going rate. Oh, by the way, you want to sell your house, right, Julie? Well, if our asking price is $350 and somebody wants to pay $400, what are you going to do? No, I don't want to sell it at $400 because the asking price is $350. No, you're going to sell the market value, right? So when there's a seller and a buyer, it's a perfect way to transition back and forth. Okay, we got a few minutes for a potluck. Who's got one? And I'll give you a 4-minute role play. Who's got an objection? And John will give us another agent. Come on, 4 minutes. We got 8 minutes to go. 4-minute role play, 4-minute debrief.
Who's got one they want to work on? Make it something about that you're currently dealing with. Or I'm going to call on Renee.
Renee, you want to be?
Renee.
I'm going to be the buyer seller. What do you want me to be?
I want you to be the buyer.
Okay. All right. Renee, I like this house. Yeah, I've already lost out on a couple of houses. Will you help me? Will you help me buy it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. It's listed at, what did you say it's listed at? I think you said it's listed at 350.
350, exactly. 350.
Awesome. And how long has it been on the market?
4 days.
What should I offer?
Well, I spoke with the agent, the listing agent, and at this time they're expecting 2 other offers. So we would be the 3rd offer. Let me ask you, I know that we've been working together and we've lost a few deals. So how much does this home mean to you? I mean, what is the value to you? What are you willing to pay that you're comfortable with? If you lose it, you're okay with?
Well, I mean, I don't want to overpay for it. It's listed at 350. You know, back when I bought my last house in 1948, we always made an offer like 5% or 10% less.
Right. But as we know, in the last 4 homes that we've made offers, we've lost. In fact, we're not even in the top 2 or 3 people. So my question to you is, how do you like this home, and do you want this home?
Yeah, I'm tired of the process. This home works. I mean, my wife she just wants a place to start, put her Vera desk up and go to work. So this works.
Great. So I'm going to do a little review, a little analysis on the block or in the neighborhood to see what has sold in the last 3 months. I think we looked at that recently, and we saw most of these homes with the 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath are selling anywhere from that 350 to 365. So I want you to be comfortable. If you want to go into this, tell me, let's talk about the terms.
It's cash.
Oh, cash. Okay. So great, cash. So what we looked at in our market analysis at the other homes, we saw that these homes are selling from 350 to 365. So let's pick, I want you to think about this, a number that you're comfortable with, because if we don't get it, if you walk away, I want you to feel like it's okay.
Well, you're saying 365 then, right?
Well, I think that would be good.
Okay, let's do 365.
Sounds good. I will write up the offer, email it to you, and I'll let the listing agent know that we're sending it tonight, within the next hour.
And you just found out they accepted another offer for 366
366.
and not ours.
Okay, so
That's so now we're done with the role play.
right.
Now, notice my slide here, guys. I purposely went down that road. Set expectations, not prices. Any feedback before I put a bow on it? I pushed her hard. She resisted, but she caved. Did she have DNA on the number? Yes. And when you put DNA on the number and I lost the house on the number, how many, I mean, it does happen. It may have never happened to you. If buyers lose enough houses, they're going to look for someone to blame. And it's going to be maybe you. And that means they're not going to work with you anymore. How can you avoid that? All right, Renee, I'm sorry I pressed you really hard. You did
no,
good.
that's good. No, that's good. Because
Cool.
you're exactly right. I shouldn't have agreed. I should have said what you're, this is you and what you're most comfortable with. And I don't, tell me. Tell me what I could have said.
All right, so let's just reverse it. Just reverse it really quick and I'll land the plane for you. And
Okay,
we'll
great.
close it with your ahas. So basically it's 350 is the asking price. You've lost out on 4 homes. I'm going to go the same path you did because you're right. As you know, let me ask you this question. Is the market working in your favor or working against you, Renee?
It's working against me.
Right. And so many homes are selling over asking price because they're worth it.
Correct.
So would it surprise you if this goes over asking price?
Not at all.
So you want my very best advice?
Yes, please.
You've got to go in with your best offer first. What is your best offer? I know you're a cash buyer. It's listed at 350. What is your number? Your best number. We get one shot.
So I would say my highest and best offer for this home would be 365.
Now, aside, do not bring up comps because comps don't matter. That's just going to anchor them in the past. It will not help you go up if the market's still going up. We'll have a different conversation in a couple of weeks because the market may slip. So 365, I've got it. Is that your very best?
That's the highest and best I can do at this time. Yes.
I've got
Yes.
that. So let me ask you this. Let's just assume we offer 365 and the seller comes back. We hear a few days from now that the seller accepted another offer and the agent tells me, oh, you guys were so close, it sold for 366. How will you feel?
Well, I'd be very upset. I'd be very disappointed.
Well, it hadn't happened yet. You can control the future. So then would you have modified your offer if we could go back and replay that?
For $1,000, I would say yes.
You guys, this script is brilliant. It's a question. Okay, so then what's your very best?
366. 370. All right, 370. That's it.
I'm going to ask you again. You find out it sold for 371. How do you feel?
Honestly, I just don't have the money. That's it. That's all I can do.
So do you see the advantage? Do I have any fingerprints? John, do I have any DNA in this conversation?
No.
None whatsoever. She came up with that 370 all by herself.
And then when she says, you know what, if it goes for a penny more, I'm okay. I'm at my limit. Here's how you close it. Well, if you can sleep, I can sleep.
I like it.
So let's discuss it. You guys have any thoughts on that feedback? Come on, you guys. John, call on some people, get some ahas. We got 1 minute to get some ahas. What did you get from this? This is why we do this.
Miss Torres, what did you take away today?
Digging the motivation of the buyer or seller, and also ask more questions about why they have those objections. The more you ask, the better you know why they don't want to move forward or what they're stopping, why they're not doing, selling. But make questions. That's my big aha. The more questions you make, the better it would be for the agent to know.
Excellent.
Mhm.
Excellent. Thank you. Darla, how about you? What was your big takeaway today?
Just that you should let the homeowner decide how much to sell the property for.
Excellent. Keep your DNA off of it.
Right.
Criminal minds would be happy to hear that. Lastly, Mr. Chambers, one big takeaway from today, my man.
Yes, it's to basically ask more questions. I've got 100 in my mind that I would love to ask now in terms of what we know and how fast the values are changing here. That I was going to go there, but you did address it with appraisals, and they're all looking backwards, and conversations about, oh, my Zillow estimate, you know, rightly or wrongly, I'd love to hear Denny's thoughts on this, but I would say right away to a buyer slash seller to have the conversation, I would, you know, bet that there's probably great error in any of those computer generated valuations, because there's the market is moving so quickly. You really have to do a deep dive into the MLS information in that micro market to establish what the value is.
So James, let me interrupt you really fast. I'll do this
Go ahead.
fast for you, okay? On the seller side, you're the seller. Do not worry about all that deep dive stuff. I know you like to process information, and don't worry about it. It does not matter. So James,
Okay.
The past sales, your neighbors, past sales are between 850 and 950. You're the seller. What are you expecting the market to deliver on your home?
Well, based on what I've seen and what I see on Zillow, it's saying that I should expect anywhere between 800 and $1 million.
Okay. You're being pretty conservative relative to the sellers that I know of.
Is that right? How so?
Well, somebody else, what are the sellers going to say? If the comps are between, the past sales are 8 to 9, what do some sellers want?
Yeah, $1.5 million.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
$1.5 million. All right. So are you saying if we agree to list your home at $1.5 million, are you ready to do business with me today?
Absolutely. But I don't want to waste time. Yeah, right.
Taking the listing.
Right.
All the data you're going to work on is not going to prove anything. The only thing that matters, when you put the water in the freezer at night, you wake up in the morning and go back and look. If it's frozen, you know the freezer's working.
Right.
If it's still water, it's not in the right environment. And that goes back really fast. You guys know, I think I have a slide here really fast. You should have this. If you can get it, just email me. It's the 3 outcomes. It's the most powerful listing form there is. If you don't have it, please get it. Just just email me at coachdennygrimes@gmail. I'll send it to my assistant, and then you'll get a PDF. You add your own branding. We can do a whole class on that. That's all.
Easiest listing. That's the only thing you need on your listing presentation. It's it.
Well, I can't quite see it. It's very light. Could you just? It's
Jim,
only 3.
Just see me. I'll get it for you.
Right, but it's only 3 things. What are they? Just for my own curiosity.
John, what are they?
Listen, when we list your home, one of 3 things is going to happen when we go to market. 1, we're going to have little to no showings, which is going to suggest what? We probably have a price issue.
Positioning.
2,
Positioning.
Yep, we're going to reposition the bait. As you see it, there's a guy fishing. So 2, we're going to have showings and no offers. The third outcome is your property is going to sell. Jim, which outcome do you want?
The third one.
Okay, so when we talk Monday at 4, I'm going to ask you, where are we? And at that point, we'll be able to, in relation to the market, where are we? You're going to give me a number 1, 2, or 3.
You'll know it's not 3.
You'll know it's not 3, exactly.
The bottom line is this, you guys. The market will tell you if you're right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a listing right now, you're having low to no showings, you're overpriced. If you have showings and no offers, you're overpriced. So you adjust it. And the skill in the agent, and this is our dexterity, is like, okay, it's like cutting something bad out of your skin. I mean, a skilled surgeon knows how deep to cut. I mean, we could do it. I mean, give us like a box cutter. We'll go ahead and cut the sucker out, but we're not going to be skillful about it. That's the issue that for sale by owners or unassisted sellers have. They don't know how to position it. They don't need us to sell their house. Anyone can give it away. And then if they're wrong, they won't know how deep to cut it or when to cut it. So we'll deal more on that later in another call. You guys are awesome. I just want to respect your time. I've got another call to get on. Any last minute questions, concerns, or ahas? If not, for those that remember Hill Street Blues, be careful out there. See you
Thanks,
next week.
Denny. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Great food for thought.